Tennessee Death Row Dogs, your local dog rescue nonprofit. Arr, arr.
Talkopolis, the social media TV network for your city.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another edition of Player to Player. My name is Brad Hopkins.
And I'm Derrick Mason.
Our show is called Player to Player, and we are, where are we at, Derrick?
We are at Classic Sports Barbershop. And what barbershop don't you know that has two opinionated barbers? We got Tony Steele right here and Brian Creaside on the side.
You forgot the loud part. Remember the big
loud part? Loud. He is definitely loud, believe me.
It's a classic.
Oh, nice. Look at that.
He got to chime in.
Exactly. Now, listen, we're brought to you not only by Classic Sports, we're brought to you by Talkopolis. Talkopolis.com. That's one of the fastest growing social media sites out there, and also Fidelity Motors. And if you want to like either one of those, Fidelity Motors, you can find them on Facebook, or Talkopolis.com, you can find them on Facebook as well as Classic Sports Barbershop right here in the middle of Franklin, Tennessee. So, telling you a little bit about Fidelity Motors, you see where we go to get our hair game right, as Tony Steele's cutting me up right now, and it's kind of crazy talking to you while I'm not moving, because he's probably going to jack me up. But you can also go get your car game right. From muscle cars to Maserati, Fidelity Motors at 1207 Festivals Lane has everything that you're looking for in a vehicle. So stop in there and see Michael Spurgeon today. Tell him that Player to Player sent you. And I don't know, maybe he'll cut you even better deal than the ones they already have. So we got a lot of conversation to talk about in sports today. But first off, I got to congratulate you on your new hire at Vanderbilt.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I might just hire you as the offensive line coach, man.
Oh, nice. Not a coordinator?
No, definitely not, man. You hadn't reached coordinator status just yet.
Okay, so let's just talk about that for a little bit, though, seriously. Derrick Mason, the defensive coordinator from Stanford, is the newest Vanderbilt head coach. What do you think about the hire?
I think it's a great hire. I think this is a guy that brings a long and very good resume with him. Obviously, he was the defensive coordinator at a Stanford program that lost to my Spartans in the Rose Bowl. But this is a program that's been on an uptick for the last 3 or 4 years with Coach Shaw and before him, Coach Harbaugh. So what he's been able to implement defensively, I think it will fit what Vanderbilt is trying to do as a university, build a strong defense and a very, very strong offense. So I think this is a great hire.
Are you going to try and incorporate Michigan State into everything that we talk about?
Why not, man?
I mean,
why
guy
not?
wins a Rose Bowl. Guy wins a Rose Bowl and he can't stop talking about the Spartans.
Only thing I haven't incorporated Michigan State in yet is this barbershop. And best believe, come next time, we will have some Michigan State paraphernalia in this building.
I hear you. Well, you know, there's one thing I like about the hire is that it seems like they're similar athletes. When you talk about Vanderbilt University and Stanford University, it seems like when the school puts the name first and the university second, there's a lot of prestige that comes with that. So if you're coaching quote-unquote eggheads at Stanford and having a lot of success, I don't see why that would be hard for him to kind of have that same kind of success with the Vanderbilt kids. He's a guy that's got a zest for football. He's got a high football IQ, obviously, and his lineage, if you look at him being coached by what you said, David Shaw, the head coach there at Stanford, this guy is pretty impressive and should very, very easily slide into the role of being a mentor and definitely a motivator for those kids, in West End.
I think it'd be a great transition for him because, like you said, he come from a very similar program there in Stanford, where they pride themselves on higher education and they play also good football. So I think now with the attitude that they have built there at Vanderbilt, bringing in a guy with a defensive mindset, I think it will bode well for that university.
Yeah, and how about this? On the other side of the river, within 10 days, the Titans find themselves a new head coach. Not new to the coaching realm itself, because we obviously know he's had a lot of success in Arizona, but Ken Wisenhunt was newly named Tennessee Titans head coach. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it will end up being a great hire. But what people got to understand is this: he and Mike Munchak are the same people. I'm talking about record-wise.
How is that?
Because if you look at his record at Arizona when he was a head coach, he didn't have a winning record. He didn't even have a 500 record. It was the same thing here with Mike Munchak. I think Mike was on the right road. I think what he was trying to implement with this organization was going down the right pattern. He did what he did for quarterbacks, I believe, what Mike Munchak did for offensive linemen. Mike Munchak had a 2,000-yard rusher, and Chris Johnson. He had a very good, and arguably might be a Hall of Fame quarterback in Kurt Warner. Then he went to San Diego and kind of sort of revitalized Phillips' career. So, and that's the same thing Munch did with the Tennessee Titans. Like I said, he had a 2,000-yard rusher. He had an offensive line with a bunch of Pro Bowlers, a Hall of Famer. So to me, these two guys are similar in so many ways. I know that the Tennessee fans are excited about the hire, but if you look deeper into it, he did no more than what Mike Munchak did.
Okay, so I'm looking at this hire, and we feel good about it because he's a guy that's respected in the football community. He's a guy, Ken Wisenhunt, that obviously has had some success in the NFC conference, which should obviously give him a little bit of an inside track to doing things well on the AFC side. This is kind of the way I feel about it. But I look at his ability to develop quarterbacks. I mean, that's what I like about this. When you've got Jake Locker, if we can get a full 16 games out of here, and I say we being the Tennessee Titans, if they can get a full 16 games out of him with the development that we've already seen from Ken Wisenhunt, because this is the guy that's going to be calling the plays, I think it's a better opportunity for that offense. Let's look at some of the hires that he's kept a couple of guys in the building. Sylvester Croom, running backs coach, he's going to keep him around.
Sean Jefferson.
Yeah, Sean Jefferson's going to be doing the wide receivers, just like you said.
Steve Waterson, the strength and conditioning coach.
Yep, strength and conditioning coach. But he also brought in Ray Horton, the defensive coordinator from the Cleveland Browns. They have a lot of some history. Back in 2011, I think they were in Arizona together. But he also brought in Jason Michael, the tight ends coach from San Diego. What do we think about this?
When you're talking Jason Michaels, is this a hire just for is he promoting him from a status standpoint, or is he promoting this guy to really, help with calling plays? Because as he already said, he's going to be calling the plays. So did he hire an offensive coordinator just to have one on staff, or will Jason have a very big input on what's being called or what's being developed throughout the week for this offense to run?
I think that what Jason's capacity will be is just kind of helping facilitate Ken Wisenhunt's visions. He can't do everything. In other words, be responsible for play calling, understand where you are in down and distance, looking at the defensive subbing personnel, things like that. Those are the things that it takes more than just two eyes to be able to manage. So I think that when you look at Jason Michael and what he's actually brought in to do, it's to help manage the offensive responsibilities. The calls, the direction that the offense is going to be from Ken Wisenhunt. But when you look at all the other little logistics that have to come into that, just, like making sure that you got the right personnel in place, knowing the down and distance, the certain scenarios that are going to make it interesting, that's where Jason Michael comes in my opinion.
Yeah, now tell me, how do you feel about the Ray Horton hire? This is a guy that he has a history with back in Arizona when them two coached with each other.
See, normally you would say that'd be a lateral move. Now, Cleveland is they have a little bit more of an uphill battle, in my opinion, Derrick, to getting back to, prominence, all right, than the Tennessee Titans. So I think it's a soft landing when you look at, maybe taking the defensive coordinator job here in Tennessee. A lot of talent here, tremendous upside. But I also do you remember the movie Iron Giant?
Yes.
And when he basically exploded all over the world, the parts were going to different places and things like that. Well, when a guy gets fired and a guy gets hired, they look for those pieces, to kind of come back once again to make that Iron Giant and hopefully a successful run, in the season that year. So I look at Ray Horton's hire as him kind of coming home, going back to someplace familiar, being coached with, by Coach Wisenhunt, and maybe they can have some of that same success that they had out west and bring it here to Nashville.
Well, this is why I like this hire so much. It's because Ray Horton took a Cleveland defense that was subpar. They got some very good talent on that side of the ball. But he took a defense that was subpar and made him a top 5 defense. And I believe that the Tennessee Titans have more talent on that defensive side of the ball. I think they go from being they were in the top 12 defense this year. I think they go from being a top 12 defense to a top 5 defense with the acquisition of a Ray Horton, because he understands the conference, meaning the AFC. He's played against the Titans. He's played against a lot of these teams that the Titans will play this year. So I think what he will be able to implement defensively will bode well for the guys that they have on that side of the ball.
Yeah. And where the Tennessee Titans hope to get to with this hire of Coach Ken Wisenhunt is in the place that we saw last weekend, the conference championship games. And I tell you what, man, those matchups did not disappoint. When you saw the New England Patriots travel to Denver and as well as San Francisco going up to Seattle, both those games, they lived up to all the billing. Was there anything in specific in either one of those games that you want to talk about first?
Let's go to the New England game.
Okay.
Because I think this was the most anticipated game. You got two future Hall of Famers going against one another. Two guys that have played each other in the playoff the last, 5 years out of their career. And they've been some epic battles. So let's look at that first. And what I was really disappointed, let's say, I was disappointed in the play of Tom Brady. The guy, he didn't play like the Tom Brady we saw the week before. He didn't play like the Tom Brady that we have seen in numerous playoff games. He played like a guy as if he didn't realize what was going on or the game was a bit too big for him. I'm not going to give him the excuse that he didn't have the weapons because the week prior, he put up 40 points. So let's not mistake that. I just think that he was not prepared to play this past Sunday.
I think that what they weren't prepared to do was come back from behind. If you look at the way that the New England Patriots have been winning ball games, it has been by consistently rushing the football. They have featured more LeGarrette Blount than we've seen any of the receivers, that Tom Brady has found with regularity this past weekend and even the weekend before. I think that when you find yourself down 20-3 in the third quarter and you're trying to do things to get yourself back in the ball game, you're looking around and there aren't any Aaron Hernandez's. There aren't any Rob Gronkowski's. Wes Welker's catching footballs for the other team. So if you look at some of the weapons that Tom Brady has lost, that's what geared them towards being a more rushingly sound team, which makes it harder, like Derrick, being a receiver for 15 years in the NFL, it makes it hard to come back from, being down 20-3, especially that late in the game.
Yeah, I think it does. And I think it kind of, people say, well, the New England Patriots, you really can't key on them because they don't do the same thing week by week. And I think that's where they went wrong. I think they should have stayed with the running game as they did in the week prior. I mean, Blount had over 100 yards. Ridley ran well the week prior. But I think they went away from that. Blount only had, maybe 6 carries, I believe, and didn't have over 10 yards. So that's telling me right there that they did not stick to the run game. Granted, they got down early and they had to go to the passing game. But I think that game was not out of reach, not at one point during the game. And I felt that they just abandoned the running game too soon.
Real quick, Tony, I heard you back here chiming in when Derrick was talking about Tom Brady's performance being a little lackluster. What are your thoughts?
No comment.
Okay, but you can and chirp. You see, loud opinionated barbers. But when you put it to them, what happens?
I think I'm gonna have to change that introduction right there.
Yeah. Anyway, real quick, we got about
$1 in there. That's what Tom Brady did.
Oh my
goodness! Keep talking.
Real quick, your thoughts on the NFC game?
NFC game. I think, if you look at it, neither quarterback played exceptionally well. Russell Wilson for the second week in a row, really for the third week in a row, if you go back to the last game of the season, has not played well. He was inaccurate throughout the whole game. If it wasn't for a few plays here and there and the way that their defense played, it would have been an uphill battle for them.
Let me ask you real quick.
Yeah.
How many times would you see an offense that has gotten to the championship game have so many miscues between the quarterback, running back exchange, two polished guys? They tried to give the ball to San Fran on a couple of different occasions.
Yeah, you don't see that.
Right.
And that's why I said it surprised me that Seattle's even advancing.
Right.
But if you look at their defense, you see why. I think Kaepernick played well. I think there were some throws that he wished he could have taken back. The interception on the sideline and obviously the interception at the end of the game. If he puts it a little bit outside, either Crabtree gets it or no one gets it, then they still have 2 more downs. But he kept it in the field of play. Great play by Richard Sherman, and they intercept the ball. So to me, Kaepernick outplayed Russell Wilson, but Seattle's defense outplayed the San Francisco 49ers defense.
Classic Sports Barbershop, and as you can see, Tony Steele and Brian Creason are just cutting up everybody, me included. This has been another edition of Player to Player. We're brought to you by Fidelity Motors, where you can watch sports and buy cars. Either way, 1207 Fester's Lane, right in the middle of downtown. Stop in and see them today. Like them on Facebook. Derrick, where can people find you on Twitter?
People can find me at DMason85. That's DEEMASON 85.
And you can find me at B_Hop72 on Twitter. And like I said, like Talkopolis.com, like Classic Sports Barbershop, like Fidelity Motors, because we like you. We'll see you next time.
Peace. Again, Tony. I got to get that
You
cut.
like that?